This video is being produced to introduce the viewers to the calibration and leak testing of the Smartrack control system. This is using the handheld controller. This is a pressure sensing unit. The sensor is actually inside this handheld controller. This little red elastic band is used to demark or to give you an indication of where you want the level to shut off. So we've got it set in approximately 2 inches from the tip, measured vertically up. So now we want to start the calibration mode and make sure that it operates when the water level reaches the red band. In order to enter the calibrate mode, you see we have power applied. A little LED light is steady green. That tells you that it's ready to operate. If I hit start, it turns on. The little green pump light comes on. I hit stop, it goes off again. But while it's running and start, you notice the LED flashes 1 cycle per second to let you know that the pump should be running. Okay, so we hit stop. And now we're in the green steady light. So now what I want to do to go into the calibrate mode, and all this information is in the owner's manual. We press and hold the stop button and hold it down, and it flashes red 5 times and stops flashing. Okay, so now we're in the calibrate mode. So from the calibrate mode, we need to have a level of liquid in order to calibrate it on. So we're going to immerse the sensor down inside this liquid container. This is like a graduated cylinder. You could use a lab cylinder. And as soon as it reaches the red band, you hit the stop button, and that sets the level. Okay, so now it should be calibrated to operate on and off. When the level reaches this red band, it should cut off again. So if you can see the green light, I want to hit start. And it should be running the pump. So if this is in a barrel, as the wine level reaches up and gets higher and higher, it approaches the red band, you watch the green light, it should go off when it reaches the band. And there it is. That's the calibration. It's very, very simple. All this band is used for is to indicate what your level is you have it calibrated to. If you want to calibrate it 1 inch from the tip, you slide the band to 1 inch down, recalibrate it to that level, it's a done deal. If you want to raise it up 1 inch, slide it up 1 inch, recalibrate to that level. No problem. Okay, so let's do for a leak test. The leak test mode, we have to be in the calibrate mode to get into the leak test mode. So recalling what we did, we press and hold the stop button, and it flashes red 5 times and stops. Okay, so now we're in the calibrate mode. Now to enter into the leak test mode, we press and release the start button, and you get a flashing red light. See it flashing? When it stops, now we're in the leak test mode. So now we want to immerse the sensor tube back down into at least 2 inches of liquid. And in this test, you've got to hold the tube steady. You can't go up or down. You hold it not moving. And now you press the start button. And when you do, it's going to alternate. The LED light is alternating between green and red, letting you know it's in the testing mode. It's pressure testing. At the end of approximately 10 seconds, it'll flash all green, which you just did. That's a sign that it passed. If it flashed all red, that's a sign that you have a leak somewhere. So now we hit stop, pull it out of the liquid, and we're back in operational mode. We hit stop, and we're going back in operational mode. Okay? So now if it had a leak, my first suggestion is you tighten this nut down. Use a 5/8 wrench here on the body and a 9/16 wrench on the nut. Tighten a little bit more. If it didn't pass the leak test, then you go back to it again. So we'll try that one more time. But let's do that after we put a new sensor on. I want to demonstrate how simple it is to change the sensor out. This is a 5/8 inch wrench for backup, and this is a 9/16 inch wrench. You just put it on there and crack it loose. Take it off with your fingers. And there it is. Now this is a longer sensor tube. I want to show that all it does is it lowers the cutoff point by approximately 2 inches. So we've put in a sensor that's approximately 4 inches longer, and it shifted the shut-off point about 2 inches down. So we put it in, turn it on by hand, and then we tighten it. This is a critical part here. Make sure you've got it tight, because if you don't, you're going to have a leak. And this tube, I recommend, it is recommended strongly from the factory that you take this tube off and clean and dry it after each day's use, each barrel filling session. There it is. So now we have a new, longer sensor tube, but it still cuts off approximately 2 inches from the tip. So let's, first of all, see where the calibration is. We'll hit start. So now the pump will be running. You got this sticking down on the barrel. When the level reaches, it should cut off. Reach the red band. There it is. It's set. And why would you want a longer tube? Well, if you're filling a Chardonnay barrel and you want to reduce the volume fill so you got some vapor space on the top of the barrel, You can put a longer sensor tube. If you want to raise the level, you can recalibrate up to as much as 4 inches from the tip. It's always measured from the bottom of the sensing tube vertically up. So we can go 0 to 4 inches approximately. Or you can cut part of the tube off and raise the level again. Okay, so let's go through one more calibration. Actually, we've already calibrated. We see it's operating correctly, but just go through and demonstrate how to do the calibration and leak test again. We've got to get into the leak test. You've got to be in the calibrate mode. So once again, the green light is on. It's ready to operate. We press and hold the stop button. The red LED flashes red 5 times and stops. There you are. So now we're in the calibrate mode. Sorry, we're in the leak test mode. And now we hit the start button. And that's going to take us into the leak test. And there it is. It flashed red and went off. So now we're in the leak test mode. Now, we want to give it some pressure in order to measure so that we can see if it's leaking. So make sure you have a minimum of 2-inch insertion in a liquid column of water. Hold it steady, and then you hit the start button. And when you do, you'll notice the LED is flashing between red and green, red and green. It's doing this for approximately 10 seconds. If it passes the leak test, it'll flash green real fast, which it's doing right now. So we've just passed the leak test. If it were to flash red very rapidly, it means we have a leak still. And it's recommended then to go back and tighten this nut again. That's really the only source. Now, it can have an internal leak, but if it has an internal leak and you can't clear it from the outside, then you'll have to take it and ship the handheld controller back to the factory for repairs. So now it's ready to hit stop, and it's in the operational mode. So we can now hit start like we're going to run a wine pump, stick it down in the liquid, and there it is. That's how simple it is to calibrate and leak test.